Again, it's a red skin.
Will GitHub Copilot be able to replace us as programmers or not? This is what we're going to talk about in today's video. And I got access to the technical preview for GitHub Copilot, so I was able to already play around with it quite a bit. And to be honest, I'm quite impressed. It can do more than I thought. So in today's video, we're going to play around with it a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple of things that it can do. Some of it will be prepared, some of it will be spontaneous stuff that we try. Maybe it will fail, maybe it will work. And in the end, I'm going to give you my opinion on whether GitHub Copilot can replace us as programmers or not. So let's go ahead and switch to VS Code here. Now, you might be surprised that we switched to VS Code and not to NeoVim or a JetBrains product. Actually, all JetBrains IDEs and NeoVim support GitHub Copilot. Actually, GitHub Copilot is only available for VS Code, NeoVim, and JetBrains products. So those are the three things that I think are relevant. I'm not using anything else. But I'm not usually the kind of person that uses VS Code. I just don't enjoy using VS Code. I use NeoVim as a general editor, and if I need something language specific, I use JetBrains products. However, I think that GitHub Copilot, or I feel that GitHub Copilot is the most integrated or most well integrated, if you can say like that, in VS Code, because VS Code is owned by Microsoft and GitHub is also owned by Microsoft. So I think it's natural to just have the best possible integration here. In the JetBrains environment, I think it's a little bit more laggy, so it doesn't work as well as it works in VS Code. So for demonstrational purposes, I'm going to show you how it works here. So the first thing we can do here after we install it, and I'm not going to go through the installation process because most of you guys won't have access to the technical preview anyways, so maybe if it's public, I'm going to make another tutorial on how to install it. But once it's installed, you have the plugin down here, and you can just select a language in a new file, for example, Python. And we can try something very simple. Let's go ahead and just say def add to numbers like that. And it already suggests what I want to do. So it creates a function here with AB and it returns A plus B. So all this gray stuff here is GitHub Copilot's suggestion. So if I now press tab, there you go, I have the function done. This is a very simple function. I think a lot of autocompletion tools that are more simple, that are simpler can do this as well. So let's try something more complicated. Let's go with Fibonacci sequence and then pass an SA parameter. And now you can already see that I got the suggestion that this might be what I'm looking for. And this is actually what I'm looking for. Now you might say, I don't want to have the iterative function. I want to have the recursive function. Now, first of all, for that, we can go ahead and try to get a different suggestion. I have to switch to my English keyboard here. For that, we press Alt and square brackets, and then you can see that it gives us a different suggestion. Actually, this one is recursive, so we can do it like that, but we can also do it in a different way. So we can just go ahead for this one and accept the iterative solution, and we can also go ahead and define a function, recursive Fibonacci, and then an SA parameter. And what you see then is that it immediately gives me the recursive approach here. So this is already a little bit more impressive than just a basic autocompletion that you're used to from other engines. This is way more sophisticated, but that's not even, that doesn't come even close to what GitHub Copilot is capable of. So we can also try something like def, or actually we can do something else. We can also specify a comment. So you can say, for example, function which calculates factorial of a number recursively like that. And then I can say my function, not calling it factorial, n. There you go. And you can see that this is the factorial function, even though the function is not called factorial. GitHub Copilot read this comment and decided that this is the function that I want to implement. And this is quite powerful, and I have prepared some examples here, so I think in this file I only have the examples that we already talked about, but I also have some other examples just in case that it doesn't go well when we try it here spontaneously. For example, this thing here was entirely generated by GitHub Copilot. All I provided here was this comment, this multi-line comment here, and I think this function name. Everything else was provided by GitHub Copilot. All of this code was provided by GitHub Copilot. So what I said here was function that gets stock data for ticker FB which is Facebook, from the Yahoo Finance API and then visualizes the close price using candlestick chart. And this is what I got. It imported pandas, matplotlib, dates, date time, then the data reader, plotting, and it imported here from matplotlib.finance, which doesn't exist. I think we have to change this to MPL Finance. It imported the candlestick function. It got correctly the data from the Yahoo Finance API. What does it do then? It uses the candlestick function in the proper way, specifying the close, high, low, open values, and specifying the color up and color down as green and red. So even though it's not entirely perfect, because I think we need to change that line and maybe we need to adjust some other things, this is already solid code written by a copilot. The name already says it's a copilot. It's not the pilot. You are the pilot. But this copilot just suggested you very, very powerful code here. Another example that I have here is a function that uses web scraping to extract the S&P 500 tickers from the Wikipedia page for S&P 500. I didn't provide the link. It got the link itself. Now, to be fair, it probably didn't go web scrape the link. What it did was probably using the code of someone else, which is one of those things that GitHub Copilot is criticized for. It uses the code of GitHub public repository. So your code, my code, it is based on that, and probably they will charge money for that. However, in this video, I don't want to focus too much on the ethical concerns. I don't say they're irrelevant, but in this video, I want to focus on the features, and I also want to focus on whether this is possible or whether it is possible that this thing replaces us. So the ethical concerns are probably a topic for a different video. I'm not saying they're irrelevant. I'm just saying that for now, I don't want to focus on that. However, you can see by just providing that, and I think also providing the function name, this thing here was generated. It opened up the page. It got the HTTP response. It converted it into a beautiful soup object. Then it extracted the table row, the table data, and we got the tickers. So even if it's not 100% perfect, I didn't test it. It is probably good enough to just make one or two changes and then it works. So I think the fourth example here is the number guessing game. This is actually quite interesting because I just said number guessing game and it generated all that, which you can see is pretty impressive. Now, those are all examples of full code being generated by GitHub Copilot, but we can also use it in a different way. If I go, for example, and say, I don't know, number guessing game, then ask, or we can say, generate a random number between 0 and 700. Then I can probably say import, and it's going to import random. Then I can say number, and it says random rand int 0 700. So you can see here that we don't expect GitHub Copilot to generate the full code here. We just say, okay, I give him a hint, I want to import something. It knows what I want to import. Then I want to generate a number. By just typing number, it already knows that I want to generate the random number between 0 and 700. Now I may say ask user for guess. And maybe I want to say while, and I want to say while true, and it actually generated this code here. So it says, okay, while true, guess equals int, guess a number, and if the number is guessed, then break. Otherwise, if it's less than the number, too low, else too high. And that's actually all we want to do. So I personally see the value of GitHub Copilot not in generating 20 or 40 lines of code. I don't think that this is what GitHub Copilot is very good for. I think it's better for just assuming the next 5 lines that you want to write, because oftentimes that is what you want to do. So for example, maybe you want to have a to-do list equals an empty list, and then I want to say, okay, display menu with options, add, remove, list, and quit. def display menu, and then I display the menu, and then I can say, okay, ask user for choice, enter your choice, and then I can say if choice equals 1, add item. Then elif choice equals 2, remove item. Then elif choice equals 3, list items. Then elif choice equals 4, quit program. Now you might say we don't have these functions, no problem. So add item to to-do list, def add item. I'm just pressing tab here all the time. There you go. It generates all the code for me. Now I can say remove item. There you go. Remove item. Bam, I have the full code here. Now I can say list items. I don't even write the comments myself anymore. They're also generated by GitHub Copilot. List items. There you go. And then I can say, now I'm not sure if that makes sense, to be honest, to call the display menu function again. Oh, it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. But why does it call? Yeah, it makes even sense because I didn't even think about this, but it also calls this function then. Okay, and then the last function is quit. And I think here we're just going to call exit. There you go. We now implemented a simple to-do management program by just pressing enter and tap a couple of times. There's actually nothing complicated about this, but GitHub Copilot was able to build this full program for us. Now, of course, it will not be possible to just say, okay, generate a Pokemon classifier, and then it's going to write the full code for you, but that's not what GitHub Copilot is meant for. So it's not meant to be the pilot, it's meant to be the Copilot. You are the programmer, you are the one who writes the code, you are the one who does the complex thinking. The GitHub Copilot is here to support you and to say, okay, is this the next line that you want to write? I think that makes sense. And you can say no, you can say yes. You're the one writing the code. You are the one flying the plane. You are the pilot. GitHub is the Copilot, or GitHub Copilot is the Copilot. So this is where I see the value of GitHub Copilot, just doing the coding for you. Of course, you need to think while GitHub Copilot is suggesting something, does this make sense? Or do I want to do it that way? Or what do I want to do next? Because sometimes it's not going to give you suggestions. You cannot expect the Copilot to do everything for you, but it can automate certain pieces of code. Now, this does not only work with Python. I also have the same thing in Go here. This is actually even crazier because all I provided here was simple TCP server that waits for incoming connections and echoes back anything it receives. This was all it produced. I think the only thing that I had to do manually was to add strings here. Everything else was generated automatically. So it didn't import strings properly, but everything else was generated by GitHub Copilot. Now, if I go to my Windows subsystem for Linux, and I think this should be in my video directory, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's not loading. Why is it not loading? Okay, we're going to get back to that once it's loaded, but it actually works. Let me spoil that for you. It actually works. We can connect to Netcat or via Netcat to that server and send messages, and we're actually receiving a response. Now, while this thing is loading here, if it's going to load at all, I'm going to show you that the same works for C. This is what was generated for C. I think that in this case, though, I did it the same way that I did the number guessing, the to-do list before, because I specified everything here myself. So I said import the modules for rand and time. I didn't know where random is. I had to Google that. But GitHub Copilot knew that the random is stored in stdlib. Then I say simple number guessing game, initialize random seed, generate a random number. It did it like that. Then create a number guessing game, and essentially I did all of this using comments or just suggesting like 1 or 2 words. This is very impressive. Now let's see if something changes here. I don't think so. It's actually kind of annoying right now, but let me go to CMD. Maybe we can do it like that. Prep dir, and now we're going to, where are we actually? Copilot, right? There you go. So maybe I have Go installed. Otherwise, we're going to not demonstrate this here. Go build X1 Go. Or actually, I can just do Go run X1 Go, right? This should work. Now, the problem is I don't know how to connect to that. using CMD. I'm not the Windows terminal person. But let me just spoil you, this works. You can run this server that was generated by GitHub Copilot entirely, except for the string import, and I can connect to it and chat with it. This is very, very interesting and very powerful. All right, so I restarted my computer and now I got it to work. So we can go to the Windows subsystem for Linux. We can open up CMD and we can navigate to the directory where the Copilot thing is. Now go run x1.go, and now I can connect via netcat. First of all, I need to allow the access, and then once this is accepted, I can connect with netcat 0000 because localhost in the Windows subsystem for Linux is that IP address here, port 8080, and now I can say hello world, and you can see I get the uppercase response. Here I get message received, hello world. And this is a program that was built by Copilot entirely without me adding a single line of code except for this string import and the comment. So this was entirely generated by GitHub Copilot. So we can play around with it a little bit more here just for fun. I think it's quite interesting to play around with it because you always find something new that it can do. I actually also got it to brute force a zip file. Now I'm not going to show that here because YouTube doesn't like that content, but I just provided a comment on what I want to do, and it actually wrote a script with which I can guess the password using a dictionary on a zip file. This is quite sick, to be honest. So yeah, one thing that I read online is that this Copilot works particularly well with Python and with Go and with JavaScript and with C. Not so well with niche languages. The more a language is used, the better the Copilot actually performs. So I think that's obvious because you have a larger code base to learn from. But last but not least, we can try to, I don't know, make some file extractor. So we can go and say, for example, the comment here, load the content from file at, and then home, neural 9, my text.txt, and take it, and write the uppercase version of it to home/neural 9. I like how it even completes my task, right? It doesn't just write the code, it also guesses what I want to do in the first place. This is very powerful. So we're going to say upper.txt. And now if I just go down here, we should get some code probably. And if not, I can at least write a main function to trigger the response. So we're going to just say def main like that. And then it should generate the code. There you go. With open my text read sf content f read, and then it writes that content to a file. So provide the description and it does it for you. Now, I personally don't like doing it like that. I don't like to provide a large description and then get the full code. I like to code line by line. So as I showed you with a to-do list, you just have a couple of functions that work together, and based on how they work together and what names you have, it generates the individual functions for you. And I just like using that. I used this in my own projects already yesterday for a video, which you will see on this channel. And it's very, very interesting to see how Copilot can actually help you to speed up your coding. So let's think about another example. What can we do? Let's say, for example, load Excel file using pandas located in home. I'm providing Linux paths here. I don't know why. Neural 9 and then my file.xlsx. Then filter out the row, the column with name close price, for example. I don't know. Let's see if it's capable of doing that. By the way, this is not prepared. Maybe it will not be able to do that. Maybe it will fail. Usually I have to trigger it with def main. Let's see if we get something here. So it's not guaranteed that it's going to work all the time. Oh, what do we have here? Okay, this is obviously buggy. This is not what we want to have. Let me see if we can get a different response here. No, it's actually just importing a lot of modules. So in this case, for example, it didn't work, which is also good to see because it's not almighty. It cannot do everything, right? So some things, maybe you need to change the description, right? So maybe you want to say, okay, load Excel file, for example. And then it's going to just load the Excel file. And then you can write a second function for extracting the column close price. You still don't have to write the code yourself, but you have to provide more context, more of a surrounding structure. Now, in this case, we don't even get a suggestion. So this doesn't seem to work very well here. But let's get to the conclusion. Last but not least, this is what we want to talk about here, because will GitHub Copilot replace us, yes or no? And I personally think the answer is no, because as the name already says, GitHub Copilot is a copilot. You are the pilot at the end, right? You need to write the code, and GitHub Copilot cannot write complex code. If the customer goes to GitHub Copilot and says, I want to have a sophisticated web app for a banking system, and I want to have this API there, and I want to have, I don't know, I want to have some complex features here and there, and I want to have the support for this interface and all that, GitHub Copilot will not know what to do. Now, maybe if the model advances a lot, it can be able to do some basic web applications from scratch. So you can say, build a simple REST API for a to-do management system, and Copilot will be able to do that. I think this is definitely possible, but this will not replace you as a programmer. Now, some very, very small projects, maybe you don't need programmers for anymore. But still, for anything that has some decent level of complexity, GitHub Copilot will not know what to do. It will create buggy code sometimes. The code will need to be refactored. The code will be messy and not follow best practices maybe. There are a lot of issues with GitHub Copilot. So I don't think that GitHub Copilot will replace us. I think it will be what it says it will be. It will be a copilot. It will be something that speeds up our coding speed and makes us more valuable as programmers, because we can solve problems faster. So if I have the copilot for the same application that would take me, I don't know, if it's a small application, 4 hours to build, I can now only need 2 hours, because I see it as a tool like Vim bindings, for example, or an autocompletion engine. I think that these tools speed my coding up. Like, for example, my Vim bindings, I feel I code twice as fast because I'm using Vim bindings. But the Vim bindings don't replace me as a programmer. I also think that I code twice as fast using an autocompletion engine like Tab9 or Kite, but they don't replace me. And I think that GitHub Copilot will maybe not 2x your coding speed, but 4x your coding speed, because it's a very, very powerful tool. I don't think it will replace you, because it's a copilot. It's not called GitHub Pilot. It's not called GitHub Programmer. The client cannot really interact with GitHub Copilot in a meaningful way. So GitHub Copilot, at the end of the day, I think once this is a very mature product, I think it will be a very powerful copilot that makes you more valuable, not less valuable, unless, of course, your only use case as a programmer is to code some very, very small applications. Then maybe GitHub Copilot will replace you, but I think then you should be replaced. So this is my opinion about GitHub Copilot. I think it's a very interesting tool. I think I'm going to use it. I don't know how much it will cost in the future, but it's a very good tool. And again, ethical concerns are a different thing, but I'm very impressed. So, and I don't think it will replace us. So that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting the like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if you guys have already access to the GitHub Copilot technical preview. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about it ethically, if you want to see a video on that. And let me also know if you think it will replace us, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will replace us and take our jobs. So let me know in the comment section down below. And besides that, also don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching. See you in the next video, and bye.